Richard Johnson, of course, was a wonderful actor, and I was so impressed in the two films we saw. You had, it wasn't just the film was so good, it was the quality of the acting, and you had got some of the best actors to appear in it. How did you manage to attract them? And did they do it for a virtually nothing fee? Because art house films don't pay a lot of money.
As far as our film goes, I'm the wrong man to ask. I'm the writer who's like circling on the very, very periphery of the film business, when all the kind of the meaty stuff happens right here at the centre. But I think often people are swayed by a script that they can get their teeth into. So I think Nasir will do. I think he'll do kind of big projects for the money, but I think he's an actor's actor,
yes.
And I think he likes doing these kind of meaty, challenging actor type roles. So I don't think we paid very much money, in fact, for him. So the total budget for the movie was just under £1 million. No, £500,000. So just under £500,000.
So can I just interview? I was in a film called Lagan, all about a cricket match, and I was an umpire, and I spent 5 weeks in India.
Well done,
and
you.
In the morning, my beard was glued on after breakfast, and I was being paid $50 a week, $50 US. And someone said to me, "Why would you do it for so little money?" And I said, "Well, I wasn't doing much else at the time." And they phoned home and said, "Where's Noel? Filming in the Run of Kutch sounds better than I think he's gone to Sainsbury's." But you do it because it was interesting, and you don't always do it for the money.
Tom.
But Richard Johnson and Gemma Jones.
Well, Gemma came first because I had worked with her in a Jackie Chan film.
I was in 2 Jackie Chan.
Yeah, well, this was, and you know how it is. She was playing Queen Victoria, and I was playing someone who was based on Arthur Conan Doyle, Archie Doyle. Anyway, we went out for supper, and I just really liked her, those sorts of, and she reminded me of my mum. And so when I wrote the script, we gave it to her, and she was really fantastic because, like you say, actors like a good script, and they don't, you don't get many. And she said yes, really very quickly. And the other thing she did was she said we said, well, we'd like to film at the beginning of September. And she said, I will keep those dates free for you. And that was incredibly important because it gave the whole project a sort of credibility which it didn't have, and from that we were able to get a casting director, and she suggested Richard Johnson, and I was I didn't believe he would be the right person to play the part, because he turned down James Bond. He was he would be married to Kim Novak. He was just an incredibly glamorous figure, I thought, and I couldn't see him lying around in bed. I just didn't but anyway, I went to see him in his house in Chelsea, and it was very touching because he pretty much begged to do it. He said, "Please, can I do this part? Please, Tom." And I had misgivings. He was he was 87 when he played that part, and he is incredible. He's incredible, and he was, I really. I loved him. I really loved him. I loved working with him. I thought he was an amazing man, and he gives us a wonderful performance. And and it was we could not have been luckier, because we had cast somebody else, and it was a very interesting process casting older people, because a lot of them don't like to be old. They don't want, old actors don't want to be seen as old, and then when they are properly old, they can't remember their lines. And so it was all, and then when we finally found someone, but then his wife said, "Look, you're supposed to have retired, and we're supposed to be spending our retirement together, and you're off working the whole time. What's going on? I'm not having it." And so he had to say, "I'm very sorry, but I can't." Anyway, we got Richard, and no one could have been better. Yeah.
I remember seeing Richard coming out from the press screening in London. That was before the film showed at the public screening at the London Film Festival, and I was so moved, and I was so surprised that he was there. So I went and introduced myself, and I told him I was so moved by the film, and the first thing he said, "So was I." So that tells you something that he's really connected and bonded with the role, and I found that extraordinary. Now I must mention one thing, that it's not only featured films. I'll talk a lot about featured films, but I have to welcome Qutayba al-Janabi, who's an Iraqi film director and filmmaker, and I've recently been watching more of documentary films, and particularly a great film that Qutayba has made called Stories of Passers Through, showing the trauma of Iraqi immigrants. And Qutayba, I don't want to put you on the spot, but do you want to? Now I have. I've done it. Do you want to share with us something about your brilliant film? Yes, come and join us, please.
Well, I left Iraq age 17, and I thought I go to leave Iraq only for a few years, 1 year, 2 years, and I just decided I go to write my diary. And I decided I'm not a writer, so new. I decided I'm a photographer, and I decided to take my camera and do my diary through my camera. And I didn't realize this journey will take me long time. I thought 2 years, go back to Baghdad, show to all my friends, this is what I did, and I am the hero with the pictures. But this has taken me 30 years of my life. And I kept doing pictures, and I went to the film school. I studied film, and from that moment I saw the Hungarian students, communist, it was in that time. Everybody had budget, everybody, his mother, the students, big person, his father. I'm as a foreigner student, and I decided I have to do my own feature. The best way, I start to shoot my feature film bit by bit, little bit, ending. I show it now in ICA, the
Institute of Contemporary Arts.
And I show it in Dubai. I just came from Czechoslovakia and India. I show it, and we go to show it in Argentina soon.
Fantastic.
This is my personal, very personal photograph filming journey. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, please.
I think it's fascinating to hear your story about using film as you do in medicine as a doctor, and it shows the way in which messages from films can reach people in very different ways. And after what Khalid said, I think it's very interesting as well that when it comes to women's films, there's an element that he's touched upon as well. As a person in his situation, he's able to show a certain angle on the information that he's actually dealing with. And the same thing is true of women. But the films themselves are not women's films. The films are actually about other people seeing them and gaining some information from them as well. If they're kept with, my own feeling is that if they're kept within a bracket of women's films, there's an element that makes it feel like it's only relevant to women. And that's the reason why I feel that women do not like that sort of category. I mean, for him to be called an Iraqi filmmaker, or a filmmaker from Iraq, there's an element that sort of pushes the film towards a certain interest group, and that I don't feel is the point of why you make films. And I'm sorry if I'm saying
No, you are right. Yeah.
And I don't think that's the reason why some women make films that might be considered to be themes that affect women, but there are many other people who are affecting within that, who need to actually understand what is going on. And that message, I think, is very important to put out.
Yeah, thank you so much for that comment, and I do agree with you. Thank you.
Well, what I would like to say that in the 21st century, we are realizing that besides we are becoming a global village, we are realizing the barriers that stand in between us culturally or religiously or anything. And to be honest with you, regarding Arab cinema, the most unfortunate thing are very few daring people to tackle the real issues that touches the social issues, you know, in a humorous way, because I mean, the culture itself portray you to put you in a certain position, and there are taboo things you cannot touch. But one of the best films which touched most taboo issues regarding women in particular. Number one, women does not open so easily to talk about their problems. But now they're breaking up the silence. They're becoming braver. They see on television what's happening in the world and why is it me, I am like this. And they question everything, but maybe they won't dare say it. They don't have the courage to say it publicly. But one of the films which drew my attention, which was absolutely spot on for this era, to touch women's issue and taboo issues, was Bil Halal, which is halal love and sex. Because although it touches most crucial taboo issues, but yet you find yourself laughing all the way through, you know. But the problem again is to find people to open, to create, to open within themselves even, to admit certain things because of the cultural taboos and because of we cannot touch the untouchable issues. So that's why I would love to have a talk. I am from Basira, which we are trying to talk about universality of women's rights, regardless where we are in this part of the world, and try to move it particularly for the Arab women to get out of these prisons of chains of these things. And I'd like to have a word afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ahla. But I think yes, we must be conscious again. Yes, recently I curate for the Sudan Independent Film Festival, and the more I see of films, they're all very heavy. This is probably the world we live in today, but I think the use of humor is key, because I end up watching a few films, I end up feeling very down and personally traumatized in a way. Maybe it's a reflection of the world we live in, but I think I'm happy that if there is a film that, yes, tackles a serious issue, but in a humorous tone, this lifts my mood, and I think we need more of those. Types of films where the tone is lighter. We engage with them and we think about them. We don't leave the cinema, heading for the antidepressant bottle. If I may just say one thing about films, is that films do connect people. If I plug, we have, over the last couple of years, we founded, a great friend of mine, Dr. Mina Al-Najjar, who is a doctor and an actor, is an Egyptian doctor, actor, and a filmmaker and a director. We founded an Arab forum for film in medicine. So it's called Egypt MedFest, Medical Film Festival. We've been to Cairo, Alexandria last year, and this year we've done 5 nights of film screenings. I had the great news this morning from Mina that he's going to Al-Minya and Al-Fayoum, and we're already planning our MedFest, Medical Film Festival, for April. We haven't decided yet, April, June next year. The theme, first year was mental health, that was last year. This April was women's issues, where we screened films from around the world, from France, from Sudan, from Egypt, from Colombia, so it was from Germany, supported by the British Council, Goethe Institute, American Embassy, in Egypt, the Egyptian Ministry of Culture. We screened at Cairo Opera House. We screened at the American University, Cairo, and Goethe Cultural Institute. We did several workshops for doctors and medical students, showing them the basics of filmmaking, and we had fantastic support. Medical students, volunteers. We're going back next year, so I do hope that we'll see you. Some of you here have been with us. Victoria has been with us. My wife and family, we all went together. I took the family together, and then Ahlam, she went with us. Victoria and a team of doctors from the hospital and filmmakers. So this is an open invitation. Hopefully, Frederick, come and join us next year to Cairo. So we've already got some screenings in Cairo, Alexandria. We're going to the provinces. We're going to Minya, Al-Fayoum. We're thinking of Aswan as well. And this is all, we're showing short films. The format is mainly short films exploring not only medical but humanitarian, the broad theme of medicine and humanities. Showing short films followed by discussion with the filmmakers, patient groups. We had a documentary film from American film called Breast Cancer Diaries. We had a great lady champion for breast cancer treatment in Egypt called Sahar Shaban. She was there in the screening. We showed the short film called Omnia about FGM. It's an Egyptian film in Emirati. The director is Emirati, but the subject of the film was a young Egyptian woman called Omnia. And it's about FGM and her own personal experience with female genital mutilation. We showed the film in downtown Cairo cinema called Zawiya. So Cinema Kareem, it belongs to the Zawiya group. And we showed the film, and then we were really surprised that Omnia, the character, the subject of the film, she was there in the audience. And then she stood up, and she's so brave, and she shared her own personal trauma and experience. And so that was in Cairo. That was a few days later. We screened in Alexandria, and we were surprised that Omnia followed us. But the one thing that probably encapsulates this whole notion of film and cinema and medicine, when she was there and she took some of the questions in the Q&A after we screened the short film Omnia about her, a woman stood from the audience. And Ahlam was there, and she can testify to that. She stood from the audience. She said, "I too had FGM, and I'm now openly saying in this forum that I have been traumatized with it." And she stood up. She went to the forum and she hugged Omnia. And I think at that moment, and there was real culmination of that is where I felt we really connected. We managed to get using film to really touch people and explore subjects that are meaningful to people. This FGM issue is a big thing still, and it's a big taboo, it's a big problem. We don't talk about it, we pretend that it doesn't happen, it's still happening. And the fact that those two women were brave enough and confident to, in an open forum, to say, yes, we have been traumatized by this, we want the others to learn from our own experience, and that was triggered by showing this film. I think that was a moment where I think we connected with people in that, yes, we can use this film, and I think it's opening a lot of doors for us. Now we're thinking of the theme for next year. Actually, the theme is set. It could be children's health and well-being. So we're going back to Cairo next year, so do come. Nahla will help us publicize Nahla has got a blog. This is a blogger and a journalist. She will hopefully publicize when we're going to Cairo. We're trying to get resources. We're looking for short films. So do help us, do come and join us and support the cause. And thank you so much. Last question.
All right, so we're going to take the last question. I'm really sorry, we're going to have to end this evening. So please, the last question. Thank you.
Thank you for the very interesting presentation. I just wonder, with the part of the book where you put about 10 points for
yes.
Medical practitioners to how to break bad news and other
yes.
I just wonder whether you thought of maybe just creating a short, maybe a film or a YouTube or something to be just like an education platform for, especially if you do it in Arabic, for example. We all know the level of decline on the level of medicine and medicine practice in Sudan in general. So that I think that might be something very beneficial for lots of people.
Thank you so much. I'll take this idea and take it to the Sudan Independent Film Festival team to work on it, because we're bringing, and there's a lot of actually doctors who are actually filmmakers, so we're trying to bring them and make short films. I made a short last year with the support of the Global Health Film Initiative about 2-stroke survivors. The film was called Those Little Things, and that was a very important experience for me as well, to try to, I'm not claiming that I'm a filmmaker, I've dabbled, but we had a professional company. But I think, yes, doctors in Sudan in particular, yes, they need to spread the message and use words about communication, how we communicate with patients. But I think the young generation's attitude and practices are different from the older generation. So that's what I'm hoping. But very important idea, and yes, we could use short film to spread the message and use it for teaching for medical students. Thank you very much. And thank you.